Hello everybody, I'm having a hard time getting caught up on the videos here, coming back to work after being away was a little bit bananas. So all of you should have your case studies back. I'm currently working on the film analyses, and some of you are still working on yours and looking to get it to me, which is fine. So that's it. If you have questions about your case studies, let me know. I've been in touch with some of you, and everybody else, marks should be posted provided you've handed in a case study. So if you don't see a mark for yours and you have no email from me, then you should contact me, because it means that I don't have your paper, didn't receive it by email or something. So I also just wanted to quickly sort of touch base on the couple of weeks that I missed, and then I'm going to post another video separately for the next section that we're currently working on. So in the section on dominant culture visualization, was pretty straightforward, I think, the lecture. I had some videos to look at, some examples, a couple things that have come up just recently that I really wanted to highlight in terms of just how sort of insidious this stuff is and how it permeates sort of every aspect of our lives, sometimes in ways that we're not conscious of, is just recently the conversation around Kim Kardashian and the selfies, body selfies that she's been posting. What's interesting to me about this sort of discourse around the Kardashians, and particularly Kim with these photos, is that all kinds of people are weighing in and saying that this is the wrong message to be sending young women, that it shouldn't be about our bodies, and that and kind of shaming her about this particular way of engaging, right? She's a media sort of celebrity superstar. Her body is a source of huge cultural conversation all the time, and so I guess, you know, for me, that might not be the way that I would choose. However, I think if she can feel empowered, if she can take back what is out there already, and already part of like the cultural imagination, the cultural conversation around who women are and what their bodies are good for, what their bodies should look like. If she can reclaim some of that, you know, to whatever degree, and start to feel a little bit like she has taken some of the power back to define for herself what that's going to look like, rather than having the media do it for her and constantly being shamed for her body and criticized for what she's wearing. This is a way for her to say, you know what, like, but I'm good with my body. This is my body. It's like, I had kids, right? I'm like a woman, I'm curvy, I look like this, and I'm actually not going to be ashamed of it anymore. And I guess as a feminist, I feel like I don't have any business judging her and telling her that the way she's trying to explore being empowered is wrong. It might not be the way that I would choose, the path that I would choose, but for me, given that we all operate within a social body that really is hard on women and women's bodies, and that commodifies them and offers them up for consumption all the time, I think it is really difficult to find ways to be empowered and to take ownership of your body and feel good about it. And so I'm uncomfortable sort of shaming another woman for the way that she might choose to do that, whether it would be my path or not. But it's more interesting to watch the discourse, because lots of people have weighed in on this. Amber Rose, who's always engaged, you know, and has been really vocal about slut shaming and has held her own slut walks. She's been really vocal about this. Similarly, so has Pink. Interestingly enough, you know, in terms of her career, Pink is often dressed very scantily, and it is for entertainment and for consumption, you know, to the masses, whether that's exclusively female or exclusively male or some of both. And she sort of offered up a letter to Kim about, you know, this not necessarily being the right way to empower young girls and to teach them that their bodies are what can make them successful or whatever. And again, it's not that I necessarily disagree with Pink's message, but I thought it was interesting that she's in a place of having experienced some of that same body shaming from the media and the general public, and that she would go ahead and kind of engage in shaming another woman who was clearly trying, misguidedly or not, whatever the judgment might be around how Kim Kardashian was choosing to go about this, but clearly trying to feel empowered and to take ownership of her body and say, like, this is mine. So if it's going to be out there for conversation, this is the conversation. This is who I am, right? And kind of maybe be the driver of that particular bus, right? And so I thought it was interesting that Pink might choose the path that she chose in engaging with Kim, which was to kind of shame her and say, you know, this isn't really the kind of message we want young women to be having. And guess what, young girls? There's all kinds of ways to be smart and successful and this and that don't involve, exploiting your body. And again, maybe that's true. We live in a culture where this is the case, and so for a woman to just be trying to kind of own her body and say, like, I'm actually proud of it, and no one else is going to decide for me that it's not good enough, that it's not okay. That's a struggle I think most women have. At least some of the time, if not daily. My guess is that most of us get up in the morning and feel like a little of this could be better, a little of that, or if that didn't sag, or if this was slightly tighter, or if our faces were just a little this, or our nose, or our eyes, or our hair. And so, in a social body where that is an internal dialogue that rages on for most women most of the time, I think our job is kind of to support other women in finding their way through that, right? And so support them in a positive way rather than in a shaming kind of way. And while not everyone loves the Kardashians, and I'm not necessarily saying they're all that in a bag of chips, I just thought it interesting that so many people would feel like they could weigh in, when part of the problem is that, particularly where women's bodies are concerned, all kinds of people only feel like they can weigh in and say, shouldn't be like this, should be more of this, it should be this, not that, it's too this, it's not enough of that. And so really, it's a great example about how accustomed we get, particularly through our media, to having access to other people and to women's bodies and to these cultural ideals that are constantly being reproduced about what the good life looks like and what good women look like and what an appropriate body looks like and how to be a woman successfully. For me, it's sort of the most unconscious parts of us, so that even women like Pink, who I think have often had really great messages for women and have really tried to sort of counter some of the negative messaging that we get, still engaged in a way that probably she wasn't conscious of. And so just something to keep in mind, right? This drive to be sort of critically engaging where media is concerned and where these cultural ideals are concerned. Not only do we need to be critical about sort of what's coming at us and what we're taking in, but also our own selves. And when we catch ourselves engaging in a way that sort of reproduces negative ideals and perpetuates this policing of not only our own bodies but other women's bodies as well, as being somehow less than or sources of shame or like not quite good enough, we need to examine that, and we need to be able to say, you know what, like I'm part of this system, and I need to find my way out, right? I need to find another way to engage. I need to be willing to look at what I'm doing to contribute to this conversation. Is it positive or is it negative? The second thing on that front was the conversation that's going on dress code these days, after the last couple of years really, and particularly focused at girls, high school, middle school, elementary school girls, spaghetti straps being a problem. And again, the message here is that it's female bodies that are problematic. Girls going to wear a tank top with spaghetti straps to school. It's distracting for the boys, and so she needs to cover up. Or it's a really problematic message that I think girls are receiving at a really young age about who owns their bodies and who is responsible for actions and reactions to their bodies, and that it's really not, I mean, it's a performance, and it's something that needs to be policed and monitored very closely, and it's not really about what they want. Right? So if you wanted, as a young girl in school, to wear a tank top or a dress with spaghetti straps, you can't, because you have to be cognizant of what reaction is it's going to elicit from somebody else and their inability to police their own body. So not only are girls and women now responsible for policing their own bodies and experiencing their bodies as problematic and perhaps a source of shame or something that puts them at risk and makes them vulnerable, but also monitoring the reactions of the people around them. And this is really harmful, I think, for lots of different reasons, but I mean, at the very most basic level, simply that you can't even just live inside your own body with any kind of peace, right? Or without having to be guarded all the time, on guard about what it might be doing, how your body might be betraying you by eliciting a particular reaction from someone else, by getting you in trouble, by making you vulnerable, by putting you at risk. And that is not the world that I want to live in. I feel like there's a different kind of conversation we should be having, which is why is it that we see girls and women's bodies this way? Why is it that we are assuming that men and boys cannot control themselves, cannot control their reactions to female bodies? And why are we sexualizing even little kids to say that a little girl's shoulders now are like potentially, highly problematic, and sources of distraction. And it's a conversation that makes, I think, most people uncomfortable, which is why it's easier to just say that girls will need to come up and be careful about this stuff. But I think if we really unpack it, we're not sending a very good message about what it means to be men and boys either, which is that, like, they can't control themselves. Men and boys cannot be trusted to behave responsibly, to focus on their education in schools, to treat girls and women with respect, and that's simply untrue. I think it harms girls and boys when we send messages that, A, this is all you are, and is this distracting body this source of vulnerability and potential risk that you need to police, monitor, and be on guard all the time. And further to boys that there is actually nothing to it. Right? You're like a walking hormone. You can't be expected to be respectful. This is what's expected of you, is that you will be distracted, that you are not whole enough of a person to manage yourself. And so it does none of us any good to be continuing to have that conversation. And certainly when it comes up around me, those are the kinds of concerns that I raise, and I challenge it every chance I get, because I don't want my son to think that's who he is. And so if a girl wears a tank top, he can behave in any old way and have any old reaction to anyone, anytime, because he's a boy and that's all boys do. They don't have any, there's nothing else to them. It's simply not true. I also don't want the girls in my life to be feeling mortally afraid and vulnerable all the time because they have a female body that's somehow extraordinarily problematic and not really their own. Mostly just the property of anybody who chooses to have any kind of reaction to it. We can do better, and I think that starts challenging these ideas and notions when we hear them, these ideologies, when we hear them played out again and again in public spheres like the public school system, where this is happening in the news, with our friends and with our parents, and in our circles, right? So that people can start thinking a little more critically about that and saying, what is the message there, and am I comfortable with, sort of the logical trajectory if you follow that particular line of thinking to where it goes. I'm not comfortable with it, and so I challenge it all the time. Dominant culture dominance and visual culture in our media is so prolific that that's where we get a lot of these ideas, and I think when we repeat them and when we engage with them and we hold them as being cultural ideals without really stopping to think about where they're coming from and who is selling this and who benefits when we buy hook, line, and sinker into these ideas that are being sold and told and held up as being natural and true. So that's my couple of comments for dominance and visual culture. I don't want this video to go too long, so I'll make another one about race and colonization. I'll have a quick chat about that. And then we'll get on with the business of catching up. So if you have questions about any of your assignments or any of those things, please let me know. I'm making my way through your film papers now, and I'm hoping to come back to you fairly soon. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.